The sun hung low over Nashville, casting a warm glow that softened the edges of the bustling streets. Music floated through the air, a mix of country twang and rock riffs, pulling me into the vibrant heart of the city. I stood at the entrance of the music festival, surrounded by laughter and energy, yet I felt an odd sense of detachment. At 45, I was supposed to be enjoying life, but instead, I felt like a spectator watching from behind glass. My husband was away again on one of his business trips. His absence had become a familiar routine, a pattern that left me with too much time to think and too little company to share my thoughts with. Each day blurred into the next, filled with mundane chores and quiet evenings spent alone in our spacious home. The silence echoed louder than any conversation we'd ever had. As I wandered through the festival grounds, I caught snippets of conversations around me, friends recounting stories over drinks, couples swaying to the music. I smiled at a group of young women who danced nearby, their carefree laughter infectious. But as they twirled and spun under the twinkling lights strung overhead, I remained rooted in place, an outsider looking in. I moved past food stalls selling everything from barbecue to funnel cakes, inhaling the rich aromas that wafted through the air. My stomach grumbled softly in response, but my appetite felt muted by an unshakable sense of longing. It wasn't just hunger, it was a yearning for something more, a spark that had faded over time. Then I saw him, a young man standing near a stage where a band was about to perform. He couldn't have been more than 25, his dark hair tousled and his eyes bright with excitement as he chatted animatedly with friends. There was an ease about him that drew me in like a moth to flame. He laughed freely, his joy so palpable it almost felt like an invitation. I tried to look away but found myself watching him instead. It was strange how someone so much younger could evoke feelings long buried beneath layers of responsibility and routine. A memory flickered in my mind, dancing at college parties, feeling invincible and alive without a care in the world. As if sensing my gaze, he turned slightly and caught my eye for just a moment before returning his focus to his friends. My heart quickened unexpectedly. It was ridiculous how one glance could send waves of warmth through me. I shook my head slightly as if trying to dispel this sudden infatuation. The band began playing, a lively tune that resonated through my chest, and before I knew it, my feet were moving toward them almost against my will. The crowd swayed together as one entity, laughter mingled with music created an intoxicating atmosphere that pulled me deeper into its embrace. "Come join us," one of his friends called out as they noticed me approaching. I hesitated but then stepped closer despite myself. "Just for a bit," I replied lightly, hoping my voice didn't betray how out of place I felt. The young man smiled at me then introduced himself as Jake. He had an easy charm about him that made conversation flow effortlessly between us. We joked about our favorite bands and debated which food stall offered the best fair food, his enthusiasm contagious as we shared playful banter amidst the crowd. For those brief moments under the fading sunlight and rising stars, everything else melted away, the weight of expectations and responsibilities faded into nothingness. We laughed together like old friends reunited after years apart. It surprised me how quickly he made me feel seen again. Yet beneath this newfound connection lay an undercurrent of guilt, a reminder that while Jake was free to explore life's pleasures without restraint, I wasn't quite so liberated. My mind drifted back to my husband's absence. He would be gone for several more days on business, an all too frequent occurrence in our marriage that left me feeling lonely yet tethered by commitment. As night fell over Nashville and colorful lights illuminated every corner of the festival grounds, Jake leaned closer while sharing another story about his recent travels, a tale filled with adventure and spontaneity that resonated deeply within me. In that momentary closeness between us, the warmth radiating from his presence, I felt something shift inside myself, desire mingled with fear. "Do you come here often?" he asked casually as if we were merely exchanging pleasantries rather than teetering on some unspoken edge between friendship and something more. "Not really," I replied softly before adding with quiet honesty, it's been years since I've let myself enjoy anything like this." His expression softened slightly as he regarded me with genuine curiosity, a flicker of understanding passing between us that made my heart race even faster than before. But just then, reality crashed back in like an unwelcome wave pulling me under. What would happen tomorrow? What would happen when this night ended? Would we part ways without another thought, or would this fleeting moment linger long enough to ignite something deeper? As laughter echoed around us amidst pulsing music notes filling every crevice of space around us, I found myself lost in thought once again, wondering if perhaps there was room for both longing and connection within this chaotic world we lived in. As the laughter faded and the music swelled around us, I caught a glimpse of his face illuminated by the festival lights. He was young, maybe 25, with an energy that felt contagious. The way he moved, carefree and unburdened by the weight of responsibilities, drew me in. I was acutely aware of my surroundings, the crowd, the vibrant colors swirling like a painting come to life, but all that noise faded into a dull hum as my focus narrowed to him. "What do you think?" he asked, nodding towards the stage where a band was about to perform. His voice was warm, laced with curiosity and something else, something that sent a thrill through me. "It's amazing," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Words felt inadequate to express the turmoil inside me. I was standing on the precipice of something unknown. He smiled, and it felt like an invitation, a door opening to possibilities I had long since closed off. "Do you come here often?" he asked, tilting his head slightly as if trying to read my thoughts. "Not really," I admitted. "Just when my husband is away." The honesty slipped out before I could catch it. His expression shifted momentarily, a flicker of understanding mingled with intrigue. "What do you do when he's gone?" I hesitated. It felt wrong to share too much with someone so young, yet there was an inexplicable urge to let him in, if only for a moment. "I try to find myself again," I said slowly, feeling the weight of each word. "It's easy to forget who you are after so many years." He nodded as if he understood more than I had revealed. "Maybe tonight is about finding yourself," he suggested lightly. The suggestion hung between us like a promise unspoken. My heart raced at the thought of exploring this connection further, of stepping outside the bounds of my carefully constructed life for just one night. We shared stories, fragments of our lives that felt both intimate and trivial under the stars. He spoke about dreams and ambitions, I spoke about memories and regrets. With each word exchanged, a thread wove itself between us, tightening ever so slightly until it became palpable. "Do you want to get away from here?" he asked suddenly, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I glanced around at the throngs of people dancing and laughing, their joy contrasting sharply with the heaviness in my chest. What would it mean to escape this moment? To take a leap into uncertainty? Where would we go? He grinned widely, his enthusiasm infectious. "There's this cafe nearby, great coffee and quieter vibes." A part of me wanted to say no, to cling to caution like an old friend, but another part whispered that perhaps this was exactly what I needed, an adventure outside my predictable life. "Okay," I agreed before fear could drown out excitement. As we walked side by side through dimly lit streets filled with music echoing from every corner, our conversation flowed effortlessly. He shared stories from college while I recounted snippets from my past, life lessons learned through years of trial and error. At some point during our stroll, our hands brushed against each other, a fleeting touch that sent sparks racing up my arm. It was innocent yet charged with an electricity that made me acutely aware of him beside me. His presence ignited something dormant within me. The cafe came into view, a cozy nook tucked away from the bustling festival atmosphere, and we slipped inside as if seeking refuge from reality itself. The rich aroma of coffee enveloped us as we settled into a corner booth bathed in soft light. "This place is perfect," he said as he looked around appreciatively. "Yeah," I replied softly while taking in the warmth surrounding us. the hum of conversation blending seamlessly with soft melodies playing in the background. Moments stretched into hours as we talked over steaming cups filled with comfort. Laughter punctuated our exchanges like notes in a song only we could hear. Time seemed irrelevant here, it felt suspended in this bubble we had created together. But lurking beneath each shared smile was an undercurrent of guilt, a reminder that this connection existed outside societal norms and expectations. As much as I wanted to embrace it fully, shadows loomed over me, the weight of infidelity pressing down on my conscience like an anchor threatening to pull me under. In between sips of coffee and stolen glances across our table, something shifted within me, a realization that perhaps this moment wasn't just about escaping but also about confronting parts of myself long ignored or buried beneath layers of routine living. Then suddenly, and without preamble, he leaned closer across the table, our breaths mingling amidst whispered confessions and tentative hopes for what lay ahead. We kissed. It happened swiftly yet lingered forever in its aftermath, a gentle collision between two worlds colliding unexpectedly yet beautifully against all odds. Innocence meeting desire in its purest form beneath flickering candlelight illuminating uncharted territories within both our hearts. Pulling back slightly after what felt like both eternity and mere seconds intertwined together, I searched his eyes for answers hidden deep within them but found only reflection mirroring mine. Confusion tinged with exhilaration laced through uncertainty lingering just beyond reach. "What now?" he murmured softly. Vulnerability etched across his features made him seem even younger than before, an echo reminding me how far apart we truly were despite this fleeting connection we'd forged together tonight. "I don't know," came my honest reply tinged with trepidation, fear creeping back into consciousness threatening to unravel everything we'd built thus far. All those moments spent weaving threads connecting us tighter together now teetering on fragile ground ready for collapse at any given moment. But there were no easy answers waiting patiently at hand, only questions swirling around us like leaves caught up in autumn winds begging for resolution yet finding none amidst chaos reigning supreme outside these walls enclosing us safely from judgment awaiting beyond. And so we sat there staring at each other lost somewhere between possibility and reality. A delicate dance unfolding silently wrapped within quiet desperation yearning for more even while recognizing consequences looming large overhead waiting patiently just out of sight. The afternoon sun slipped through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. The air felt thick with unspoken words, and I could hear the faint sound of music drifting from the street below. Nashville had a way of making everything seem alive, vibrant, yet here I was, caught in a web of my own making. He had left only moments before, his presence still lingering like a warm embrace. Our lips met just outside that little cafe where we shared secrets over coffee and pastries. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, yet guilt gnawed at me like an unwelcome guest. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a message from him. But there was nothing, just silence. What was I doing? The question echoed in my mind as I stood to look out the window. Couples strolled by hand in hand, their laughter mingling with the music that filled the air. They seemed so carefree, so certain of their paths. My life felt like a series of choices leading to this very moment, a crossroads that was both thrilling and terrifying. The door creaked open behind me. It was my husband returning from yet another business trip. "Hey," he said casually, dropping his bag by the door. "How was your day?" I turned to face him, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine joy. "It was fine," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't notice anything amiss, he never did. He had his own world filled with meetings and deadlines while I navigated mine alone, until recently when this unexpected connection had come into play. As he settled into his routine, I felt myself retreating further into my thoughts. The weight of secrecy pressed against me like an anchor holding me down. Just yesterday, during our brief encounter at the festival, I had felt alive for the first time in years, a spark igniting something deep within me that I thought had long since faded away. But now reality crashed back in like an unwelcome tide. The thrill of our moments together clashed with the mundane rhythm of my life, a stark contrast that left me feeling disoriented. Later that evening, as we sat across from each other at dinner, him engrossed in his phone while I pushed food around on my plate, I couldn't help but think about what lay ahead. Was this fleeting connection worth risking everything? My heart raced as memories flooded back, laughter shared over drinks, whispered dreams under starlit skies, an undeniable chemistry that seemed to defy logic. "Are you okay?" he asked suddenly, looking up from his screen with concern etched across his face. "Just tired," I replied too quickly. He nodded but didn't press further. Instead, he returned to scrolling through emails, his focus elsewhere while mine wandered back to thoughts of him, the young man who saw me not just as someone's wife but as an individual worthy of desire and attention. That night found me restless in bed beside him. Sleep eluded me as images danced through my mind, his smile lighting up a dimly lit corner of our cafe, the way his eyes sparkled when he talked about music, how effortlessly we connected without needing words most days. Yet doubt crept in uninvited. What would happen if anyone found out? The thought sent chills down my spine as it brought forth flashes of judgment and disappointment from those who mattered most, friends who might never understand or forgive such betrayal. A chance encounter with an old friend during lunch a few days later stirred those doubts into a frenzy. We were seated at our favorite spot near Broadway when she casually mentioned seeing someone who looked remarkably familiar, a young man she described as charming and full of life. "Do you know him?" she asked innocently enough, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. I forced laughter but felt cold dread pooling in my stomach as she continued to recount tales about this mysterious figure who seemed to capture everyone's attention wherever he went, the same young man whose laughter echoed through my thoughts even now. "Sounds intriguing," I managed to say while internally grappling with how small this city could feel sometimes, a vibrant tapestry woven together by chance encounters and unexpected connections. After lunch ended and we parted ways, uncertainty hung heavy in the air around me like fog rolling over Nashville's skyline at dusk. Would it always feel this precarious? Each interaction weighed against potential consequences left me feeling raw and exposed, a tightrope walk between desire and responsibility where every step forward risked tumbling into chaos. Days passed slowly after that encounter, each one blending seamlessly into another until they became indistinguishable from one another, until Friday arrived again bringing with it another opportunity for escape under cover of nightfall when shadows stretched long across sidewalks illuminated by neon lights beckoning us toward adventure hidden within their glow. That evening found us sitting together on a park bench beneath twinkling stars where conversation flowed easily between us, a mixture of laughter and shared stories weaving together our lives momentarily suspended outside reality's grasp which loomed ominously nearby waiting patiently for us both to return home eventually. "We should do this more often," he said softly after pausing mid-sentence to catch my gaze, the intensity behind those words stirring something deep within me once again reminding me why we'd ventured down this path despite its risks. "I'd like that," I replied quietly feeling heat rise beneath my skin while wrestling against impulses urging me closer still until our lips met once more, an electric charge igniting between us as time stood still for just one fleeting heartbeat before reality rushed back and reminding us both how fragile these moments truly were amidst everything else waiting beyond our little world tucked away safely behind closed doors. With every kiss exchanged came layers peeled back revealing parts hidden beneath surfaces long since smoothed over by time spent living lives dictated by expectations rather than desires. Yet even amidst all this beauty lay shadows lurking just beyond reach whispering reminders about choices made along paths chosen leading inevitably toward unknown destinations awaiting patiently ahead. The night air was thick with a blend of excitement and uncertainty as I stood by the window, gazing out at the twinkling lights of Nashville. The music from the festival drifted in, a reminder of the vibrant world outside, yet I felt cocooned in a bubble of my own making. The young man and I had crossed an invisible line, one that blurred the boundaries between right and wrong. He had left moments ago, taking with him a piece of my heart that I hadn't known was missing. My mind replayed our time together, the laughter, the shared secrets, and the warmth of his embrace. It was intoxicating, yet it came with a weight I couldn't ignore. The thrill of our connection danced alongside a creeping guilt that wrapped around me like a vine. I turned away from the window, trying to shake off the lingering feelings. My husband would be back soon, and I needed to prepare for his return. The mundane tasks of life awaited me, cleaning up after dinner and sorting through the mail, but all I could think about were those stolen moments with him. The phone rang unexpectedly, cutting through my thoughts. I hesitated before answering. It was my friend Sarah. She had been supportive throughout my marriage but often reminded me of what was at stake. "Hey. Just checking in on you," she said cheerfully. "Hi," I replied, forcing a lightness into my voice that didn't quite reach my heart. "I heard about that festival." "Did you go?" she asked. "I did," I said cautiously. There was silence on the other end for just a moment. "Did you have fun?" "Yes," I replied too quickly. "Just yes?" "Come on. You must have some stories." Her tone shifted slightly, sensing my reluctance. I took a deep breath. It was lively. "Lively? That's all you've got," she pressed on playfully. I chuckled softly but felt an ache in my chest. It was nice to be out among people. "Nice? You sound like you're holding back." She paused before adding, "You know you can tell me anything." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I stared at the framed photo on my wall, my husband and me smiling at some long-forgotten event from years ago. It felt like another life entirely. "I'm fine," I finally said, dismissing her concern. "Okay then," she said slowly. "But if you ever want to talk." "Thanks, Sarah." After we hung up, I sank onto the couch and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. There it was again, the nagging feeling that this new chapter in my life might not end well. Yet something deeper within urged me to explore it further, to embrace this unexpected connection rather than retreat into the comfort of routine and familiarity. Days passed in a blur as we continued our secret meetings under the cover of night. Each encounter felt like peeling back another layer of myself. My fears about aging and loneliness mingled with exhilaration as we shared our dreams and aspirations beneath Nashville's starry sky. One evening found us at an art gallery opening, a hidden gem tucked away from bustling streets filled with tourists seeking music and nightlife. We wandered through rooms adorned with vibrant colors and textures that seemed to mirror our emotions, conflicted yet alive with possibility. As we stood before an abstract piece splattered with bold strokes of red and blue, he turned to me with an earnest look in his eyes. "What do you see?" he asked softly. I studied it carefully before responding. "Chaos, but there's beauty in it too." He nodded thoughtfully before leaning closer to whisper, "Just like us." His words sent a shiver down my spine, a reminder of how far we had ventured into this uncharted territory together. But as much as every moment felt electric, shadows loomed larger than before. Whispers from friends echoed warnings about infidelity while echoes from within reminded me of what lay outside this bubble we'd created. That night after leaving the gallery, we spent hours talking, sharing pieces of ourselves beneath soft lamplight illuminating our faces in warm hues against cool shadows creeping closer around us like dusk settling over Nashville's skyline outside his apartment window. We spent the night together, a decision made without hesitation but laden with implications neither one dared fully acknowledge just yet. In those quiet hours wrapped up in each other's presence came laughter mingled with unspoken fears about what tomorrow might bring once reality set back in again after this fleeting escape ended. But then came an unsettling moment, while sharing breakfast at a nearby cafe days later, a cozy spot filled with rich aromas. I overheard snippets from conversations around us that pierced through my thoughts like sharp shards breaking glass. A couple seated nearby discussed relationships openly, how trust could be shattered by mere moments lost or unguarded choices made when desire overtook reason. Their words hung heavy in the air between bites of toast and sips of coffee. They spoke candidly about heartbreaks endured along paths diverging unexpectedly once love faltered under pressure or temptation weighed too heavily against promises made long ago. My heart raced as their voices faded into background noise. Suddenly everything felt fragile. The connection formed so easily now threatened by doubts planted deep within me, as if roots were digging into soil beneath surface layers hiding truth buried away for years. As we left that cafe hand in hand, our fingers entwined tightly, I sensed an impending storm brewing not just outside but within myself too. Torn between two worlds pulling me apart like threads unraveling fabric stitched together over decades spent navigating life's expectations versus desires long since tucked away behind walls built high enough to keep vulnerability safely hidden from view. Yet here we stood facing uncertainty head-on as if daring fate itself to intervene. As we stepped out of the cafe, the cool evening air wrapped around us like a shroud. The distant rumble of thunder echoed my internal turmoil. I glanced at him, his youthful face illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights, and felt a pang of uncertainty. What had started as an adventure now felt like a precarious tightrope walk between desire and reality. He squeezed my hand tighter, oblivious to my spiraling thoughts. "Where to next?" he asked, his voice light and teasing. I paused, considering my answer. The vibrant streets of Nashville beckoned with their lively music and neon signs, yet I felt tethered to the shadows of my life, the responsibilities waiting at home, the husband who would return in a few days. "Let's just walk," I replied softly, allowing the rhythm of our footsteps to guide us through the city. As we strolled through the bustling streets, laughter and music floated from nearby bars, mingling with the scent of fried food and fresh beer. The atmosphere was intoxicating. It reminded me of who I used to be, free-spirited and unencumbered by obligations. Yet every laugh shared with him felt like a reminder of what I stood to lose. "Do you come here often?" he asked casually, breaking my reverie. "Not really," I admitted. "It's been years since I've enjoyed this kind of night." He looked at me with curiosity, as if trying to piece together my past from fragments scattered across our conversations. "What do you do when you're not sneaking away for adventures?" I hesitated. How could I explain a life filled with routines that felt more like chains than comforts? "I'm busy," was all I managed to say. "Busy is good," he said with a grin. "But it's also nice to escape sometimes." His words lingered in the air between us as we continued walking. There was an undeniable chemistry that buzzed like electricity, a connection that both thrilled and terrified me. Yet beneath that thrill lay questions that gnawed at me. Who was he really? What did he want from this secret arrangement? We reached a small park where benches were scattered beneath trees swaying gently in the breeze. He led me to one, and we sat side by side, our knees brushing against each other. The tension hung thick in the air as silence enveloped us. It was comforting yet suffocating. "What's on your mind?" he asked suddenly, breaking through my thoughts again. I turned to look at him. His eyes sparkled under the moonlight, filled with youthful exuberance and sincerity that drew me in further. "Just thinking about life," I replied vaguely. "Life can be complicated," he said thoughtfully. "But it can also be simple if you let it." His words struck a chord deep within me. Simplicity felt like a distant memory buried under layers of adult responsibilities and expectations. Could I truly allow myself to embrace simplicity again? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a jarring reminder of reality crashing back down around us. Pulling it out, I saw my husband's name flashing on the screen. "Sorry," I murmured as I answered the call. "Hey. Just checking in," he said cheerfully on the other end. "Hi," I replied, forcing cheer into my tone while stealing glances at the young man beside me who watched quietly as tension crept back into our space. "How's everything going?" My husband continued casually about his work trip while all I could think about was how different this moment felt compared to those stolen hours spent with someone else entirely. "It's fine," I said distractedly, feeling guilt twist within me like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. After hanging up, silence fell between us once more. This time it was heavier than before, a chasm widened by unspoken truths and hidden lives colliding for just a fleeting moment in time. "I should go home," I finally said after what felt like an eternity spent weighing possibilities against consequences. He nodded slowly but didn't move right away. Instead he searched for something unsaid in my eyes, a question lingering unasked between us both. "Where do we go from here?" As if sensing my turmoil mirrored his own uncertainty about our future together, or apart, he leaned closer instinctively as if wanting reassurance that this connection mattered beyond fleeting moments shared beneath Nashville's glittering lights. "I'll walk you back," he offered quietly after what seemed like forever suspended between breaths, the offer itself both comforting yet suffocating all at once because it meant prolonging this dance between desire and reality for just a little longer. The walk back felt different, each step weighed down by impending decisions looming larger than life itself. Could something so beautiful exist outside these stolen moments? Or would returning home mean burying everything again beneath layers built over years spent avoiding vulnerability? Arriving at my front door brought an unexpected wave of emotion crashing over me, the familiarity almost stifling against everything new found tonight alongside him, yet somehow also amplified by bittersweet nostalgia for what could have been had choices aligned differently throughout time. "I had fun tonight," he said, finally breaking through my thoughts again just before turning away into darkness beyond reach, the words laced with sincerity but tinged with uncertainty too. What lay ahead remained unknown even though both knew deep down change lingered close enough for either choice made next could alter everything. "Me too." My voice barely rose above a whisper as his figure receded into shadows cast by streetlights illuminating paths chosen long before tonight ever unfolded. Closing the door behind me felt final, a soft click echoing through empty rooms filled only with memories waiting patiently until they too faded into echoes lost among unfulfilled dreams left behind. The silence hung in the air like a thick fog as I stepped back into my home, the weight of the night pressing heavily on my chest. My husband would be returning soon, and with him, the familiar rhythm of our life would resume. I wandered through the dimly lit rooms, each corner echoing with memories of laughter and shared moments, yet tonight they felt hollow. I poured myself a glass of wine, the rich red liquid swirling like my thoughts. The young man's smile lingered in my mind, his laughter still reverberating like a favorite song. Yet guilt clawed at me from within. What had I done? Each kiss shared felt both liberating and suffocating, an intoxicating blend of freedom and betrayal. The phone rang unexpectedly, shattering the stillness. My heart raced as I glanced at the screen, my husband's name illuminated it. "Hey," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just checking in. How's everything?" His voice was warm and familiar. "Good," I replied too quickly. "Just relaxing at home." The lie felt heavy on my tongue. "Miss you," he said, and for a moment, I was transported back to when we first met, a time filled with promise and excitement. But now, that promise felt frayed at the edges. "I miss you too," I said softly, wishing it were true in every sense. After hanging up, I sank into the couch, staring at nothing in particular. The shadows danced around me as memories flickered. Moments spent with my husband that had once sparked joy now felt tainted by what had transpired with the young man. A knock at the door pulled me from my reverie. I opened it to find him standing there, a mix of nervousness and excitement etched across his face. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "Here?" My heart raced as I glanced back into the house where secrets lingered like ghosts. He nodded slightly, stepping inside before I could answer. The door clicked shut behind him with an unsettling finality. We stood in silence for a moment until he broke it. "I didn't think you'd want to see me again," he admitted, his eyes searching mine for answers. "I didn't know either." The truth slipped out before I could stop it. His gaze softened as he stepped closer, an invisible line drawn between us that felt both thrilling and terrifying. "I've been thinking about everything." "Me too." The words hung between us like a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. "I don't want this to end," he confessed quietly. I took a deep breath, weighing his words against the reality waiting outside these walls, the life that would resume if we let go of this connection. "What are we doing?" He reached out tentatively, brushing his fingers against mine, a simple gesture that sent electricity coursing through me despite its innocence. "I don't know," he admitted softly. The vulnerability in his voice struck a chord within me. Here was someone who saw me, not just as a wife or mother but as a woman yearning for something more than routine and predictability. Yet that very realization made my heart ache with uncertainty. "We can't keep meeting like this," I said finally, pulling my hand away as if burned by fire. "Why not?" His frustration bubbled beneath the surface but remained unspoken. Because it complicates everything." My voice trembled slightly as fear crept into my thoughts, fear of what might happen if we continued down this path filled with shadows and whispers. He stepped back slightly as if preparing for an inevitable rejection but then took another step forward instead, a silent challenge to confront our choices head-on. "Maybe complicated isn't so bad." The air grew thick with tension. Every heartbeat seemed louder than before as we stood there staring at each other, two souls caught between desire and duty. Then came a sudden knock on the door again, this time more insistent than before. My heart sank as dread washed over me. It could only be one person, my husband returning earlier than expected from his trip. Panic surged through me as I glanced toward the door then back at him. Confusion clouded his features while realization dawned on mine. "We need to go," I whispered urgently while motioning toward the back entrance leading out to our garden, the only escape route available right now without raising suspicion. He hesitated but followed suit without question. Together we darted through the hallway toward freedom just moments before another knock echoed through our home, a sound signaling impending confrontation and chaos waiting just outside those walls where secrets festered like wounds unhealed. Once outside under starlit skies shimmering above us like distant promises yet unfulfilled by time itself, I turned to face him again while catching my breath from adrenaline coursing through veins alive with possibility yet shadowed by consequences looming ever closer behind us. "What do we do now?" His question lingered unanswered between us as uncertainty wrapped its tendrils around our hearts tightly bound together yet tethered to lives already lived elsewhere. "I don't know," came my reply tinged with resignation mixed equally alongside hope hidden deep within shadows cast upon paths chosen long before tonight ever unfolded. The rain tapped against the windows like a persistent reminder of the chaos outside, while inside, a different kind of storm brewed between us. I could see the uncertainty mirrored in his eyes, the same flicker of doubt that had danced through my mind for days. The warmth of his presence was a comfort, yet it felt like a fragile bubble ready to burst. "What do we do now?" he asked again, breaking the silence that had settled heavily around us. His voice was soft but edged with urgency, as if he sensed the ticking clock counting down to an inevitable conclusion. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart heavy with the weight of unspoken words. The rain intensified, drowning out any further conversation. Outside, Nashville seemed alive with its own rhythm, music and laughter mingling with the patter of raindrops. Inside this room, however, we were ensnared in our own quiet turmoil. Memories rushed back uninvited, moments from my past that had shaped me into who I was today. My husband's voice echoed in my mind, his laughter during our early years together, the promises we made to each other under starlit skies. Those memories felt distant now, overshadowed by this new connection that had ignited something within me long thought extinguished. I glanced at him as he stared out into the rain-soaked street. He looked so young and full of life, it was easy to forget how different our worlds were. I wondered if he understood what was at stake here, the delicate balance between desire and responsibility. Did he feel the pull of judgment from society? The whispers that would follow if anyone discovered what we had shared? Maybe we should just stop, I suggested hesitantly, testing the waters of our fragile arrangement. It felt wrong to say it aloud, but I needed to voice my fears. He turned to me sharply, surprise etched on his face. You want to end this? No, I replied quickly, shaking my head as though denying it would make it less true. I'm just saying, maybe it's for the best. A silence stretched between us again as we both contemplated what such an ending would mean for each of us. The storm outside raged on, thunder rolled in the distance like a warning bell. I can't pretend this doesn't matter, he said finally, his voice steady despite the tension crackling in the air. It matters too much, I countered softly, feeling tears prick at my eyes for reasons beyond explanation. What are we even doing? His gaze softened as he stepped closer. I could feel the heat radiating off him even through layers of fabric separating us. There was something magnetic about him that pulled me in, an allure mixed with danger and excitement that made my heart race. We could take a chance, he offered tentatively. Just for tonight. The idea hung between us like an uninvited guest, enticing yet fraught with peril. As lightning flashed outside, illuminating his features momentarily in stark relief against the darkened room, I saw not just a young man but a reflection of everything I craved, a sense of freedom and abandon that had eluded me for so long. But then another thought crept in, what would happen when morning came? Would we be left with nothing but regret? Or worse yet, the burden of reality crashing down upon us? We can't ignore tomorrow, I murmured almost to myself. Maybe tomorrow isn't what matters right now, he replied softly. The rain continued its relentless descent as if urging me toward a decision, a leap into unknown waters where consequences awaited just beneath the surface. You're right, I finally said after what felt like an eternity spent wrestling with myself. Let's just stay here tonight. A small smile broke across his face. It was infectious and filled with promise wrapped in uncertainty. Suddenly everything felt lighter despite lingering doubts. Perhaps this moment could exist outside time itself. As we settled onto the couch together, soft laughter mingling with raindrops, I couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling nestled deep within me. Something whispered that this wouldn't end well no matter how much joy radiated from our shared laughter or how fleetingly perfect these moments felt. Time slipped away unnoticed until fatigue began creeping into our bones like an unwelcome guest settling down for an extended stay. Eventually, sleep claimed us both amidst tangled limbs and whispered secrets exchanged beneath blankets pulled tight against encroaching nightfall. Morning light filtered through drawn curtains when I awoke alone, a faint chill replaced warmth where his body once lay beside mine. Panic surged through me as reality crashed back in waves. Last night hadn't been some dream woven from fantasy threads. It had been real and tangible yet fraught with consequences waiting just beyond dawn's embrace. I dressed quietly while memories flooded back, laughter echoing through empty spaces where shadows danced playfully around corners before fading into nothingness once again. My phone buzzed insistently on the table nearby, my husband's name flashing across its screen like a beacon cutting through foggy uncertainty, but before answering it seemed impossible to escape thoughts racing wildly through my mind. What would happen next? How would life unfold when faced with choices made under cover of darkness? With trembling hands still holding on to remnants from last night's escape, I took one last glance around this room filled with echoes before stepping out into sunlight waiting patiently just beyond those doors leading back toward reality, and whatever awaited there. The cafe buzzed with the hum of conversation, a comforting backdrop as I settled into my usual corner table. The warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped me, and I took a moment to breathe it in deeply. This place had become my refuge, a sanctuary where I could reflect on the whirlwind of emotions that had consumed me over the past few weeks. I stirred my coffee absent-mindedly, watching the cream swirl into the dark liquid, mirroring the chaos inside me. The young man's laughter echoed in my ears, a sound so vibrant and alive. But now, it felt like a distant memory, fading as quickly as it had ignited something within me. I glanced at the door, half expecting him to walk in, but reality reminded me that our time together was over. The weight of finality pressed down on my chest. I had made my choice, or rather, life had made it for me. The affair had been exhilarating and terrifying all at once, an escape from the mundane rhythm of my existence. Yet now, standing at this crossroads, I understood that every decision has its consequences. A familiar face entered the cafe, a fleeting moment of hope flickered within me until I recognized her as an old acquaintance from years past. She waved enthusiastically and made her way over to my table. "Hey! It's been ages," she exclaimed, taking a seat across from me without waiting for an invitation. "Yeah, it really has," I replied with a practiced smile. "How have you been?" "Still doing that art thing?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with genuine curiosity. I shrugged slightly. "Just dabbling here and there." "Dabbling? You were always so talented. You should showcase your work more." Her words lingered in the air between us, an unexpected nudge toward a part of myself that had long been overshadowed by responsibilities and routines. "I don't know, life gets busy," I said softly. She leaned in closer. "You know what they say about midlife crises? It's not just about buying sports cars or having affairs, it's about rediscovering who you are." A wave of recognition washed over me as her words resonated deeply within. Perhaps this was what I needed, a new beginning rather than an end marked by whispered goodbyes and lost moments. As we chatted about art and life choices, I felt a flicker of inspiration reignite within me, something that had dimmed during those secret nights spent wrapped in someone else's arms. Maybe it was time to channel this energy into something tangible. After she left, I sat alone again with my thoughts swirling like cream in coffee. The idea of picking up my paintbrush again felt liberating yet daunting. It would mean confronting parts of myself long neglected. That evening passed quietly as I returned home to an empty house, a space filled with echoes but devoid of warmth. My husband was still away on business. His absence loomed larger than ever now that our connection felt strained by unspoken truths. I moved through our home like a ghost, each room holding memories both cherished and painful. As night fell and shadows crept along the walls, I found myself drawn to the small studio tucked away at the back of our house, the one place where creativity once flowed freely before life became too complicated. With hesitant fingers, I dusted off old canvases and brushes scattered across the table like fragments of forgotten dreams. My heart raced at the thought of bringing them back to life. Perhaps this was how one could heal, by creating rather than destroying. But just as inspiration surged through my veins like electricity ready to spark something beautiful, another thought crept in. The young man's face lingered on the fringes of my mind like a haunting melody from a song long forgotten. Days turned into weeks as I poured myself into painting, each stroke becoming cathartic release for emotions pent up inside for far too long. Yet despite this newfound passion revitalizing parts of me once buried under routine monotony, there remained an emptiness where his laughter used to reside, a ghostly reminder haunting every canvas. One afternoon while painting beneath sunlight streaming through wide windows filled with warmth and possibility, fate intervened unexpectedly once more when someone knocked at my door, the sound echoing off walls painted bright hues reflecting newfound hope within. I opened it slowly only to find him standing there, the young man whose presence had sparked such profound change in my life just weeks prior, and suddenly everything shifted again around us like tectonic plates realigning after years apart. His expression mirrored mine. Surprise mixed with uncertainty lingered heavily between us as we stood momentarily suspended in time, two souls tethered together by shared moments yet now confronted by reality once more. "I didn't know if you'd want to see me," he began cautiously after clearing his throat awkwardly while shifting weight from one foot to another like he wasn't sure whether he should stay or run away again into whatever past we'd left behind us both so hurriedly before. I didn't expect you here," came out before any coherent response formed fully inside my mind, racing too fast ahead, trying desperately not allow emotions take control again. But then those eyes captured mine, utterly drawing forth memories flooding back unbidden, filling silence stretching painfully between us both, now heavy laden with everything unsaid left hanging there waiting impatiently for resolution. And just when everything seemed poised precariously on edge, ready either plunge forward into unknown depths or retreat back safely behind closed doors, shielding ourselves from pain lurking just beyond reach, that same familiar phone buzzed, ominously vibrating insistently against skin, reminding us both painfully how easily lives can change forever without warning, shattering illusions built upon fragile foundations. As he stepped closer toward threshold, crossing boundaries set previously between us, two worlds colliding once more, I hesitated, unsure whether this would lead toward healing or heartbreak, leaving lingering questions unanswered echoing loudly around us both.